Richard Hadden is an author, speaker, and workplace expert with a focus on leadership and employee engagement. He is co-author of the popular Contented Cows leadership book series, including his latest book, Contented Cows Still Give Better Milk. A former IT manager and college instructor, Richard has been speaking since he was 17 months, but professionally for the last 20 years. In that time, he has spoken to more than 1,200 audiences on 5 continents and now on 3 virtual platforms. Please welcome Richard Hadden.
Imagine with me for just a moment that you're a hotel professional and you're looking for a change in jobs. You score interviews with 2 different hotels, and each of those hotels gives you very specific instructions on exactly where to go on the property for your interview. You show up at the first place, and this is what you see. Then you go to the second place, and you walk into the employee entrance, and you're greeted by this. The jobs are the same, the salary is the same. Which job do you choose? The employers who are making the greatest strides for the war for talent are those who are getting inside the heads of prospective employees and looking at things from their point of view. And that's part of what I want to talk about today. Now, if you can believe the leaders I'm talking to, and I do, the most urgent need that they're seeing right now, the most urgent problem, is that of finding and keeping qualified, talented, and committed people to keep their operations going. And there essentially are 3 ways of approaching this. First, we can hope that it's temporary and it's going to resolve without treatment. Or we can engage in a salary arms race. And you can buy your way out of this if you have enough money. And I think we all know that probably the very best way long-term really to win the war for talent is to build the very best culture that you can. But nobody wants to hear that right now because it won't solve the problem today. I mean, it's a little bit like an EMT looking into the horrified face of someone in cardiac arrest and suggesting that they increase their diet of omega-3 fatty acids. So, yeah, I mean, let's get the heart started first, and then I'll share with you my recipe for avocado toast. So, how about if I don't pretend that you've been on the grid for the last year and a half or so, and not spend a lot of time telling you how hard it is to find and keep talent today, but instead give you some ideas that'll help. The solution requires really a coordinated effort that includes recruiting, onboarding, and retention. And today I'm going to focus on recruiting. And people often ask me, Richard, what's the best tool we can use for recruiting? Is it Indeed? Is it Monster? Or what is it? And let me tell you, your best recruiting tool is your reputation as an employer, your reputation as an employer. Now, it's easy to go around saying we're a great place to work and all of that. But if you're going to say that, people are going to be looking for the evidence. A few years ago, I established a personal goal to visit all 50 states. I was successful with that. And so, of course, I have been to the state of Nebraska, and I have a picture to prove it. And now I like Nebraska, and I especially like the people of Nebraska, but I looked at that sign and it says, Nebraska, home of Arbor Day. I don't know about you, but I don't buy it. I mean, if you're going to put a sign on your state line that says home of Arbor Day, I'm going to be looking for some trees. And if you're going to say that yours is a great place to work, people are going to be looking for the evidence. And so I always say that reputation recruits, but reality retains. Reputation recruits, but reality retains. Recruiting is essentially marketing. And just like marketing for your products and services, you have to find sources for your prospects and also how to attract them. Let's talk about a few quick ways that you can look for some sources that you might not have thought about. One would be boomerang employees. These are people who used to work for you and they left hoping for greener pastures. And you know what? They're a little embarrassed now to come back to you. Take away that guilt and shame and just open the door to having a conversation about them coming back to join your organization. Also, runners up from before. Maybe before you only had one position, but you had a couple of qualified people. now you want to, maybe you've got a few more openings ready. You want to get back to those people. And again, just open the door to have that conversation. What about those who turned you down? You don't know what's happened to them in their career. They might very well be willing and open to a conversation about coming to join you. A few other ideas. This is a great one. Just recent retirees. I mean, they know your culture, they know the job, and they may be looking for a flexible situation that would just really match up well with what you need. Don't forget some non-traditional sources. Just some examples: people on the autism spectrum, those with Asperger's, disabled workers, veterans, even people with a criminal record. All of these and other groups can represent a real treasure of people whom you might not have given thought to before. And speaking of treasures, the most underutilized asset that you already own is your website. And no self-respecting job seeker is going to come to look at working for your organization without visiting your website. I spend a lot of time looking at career sections of websites, and frankly, I see a lot of this, nothing more than a listing of job opportunities. But I also see with those organizations that are having greater success in recruiting, things like this, where people give you a look inside their organization, maybe using video, using testimonials from their current employees, something that helps to establish an employer brand and creates the sense that you are a destination employer, the kind of place where people really want to come to work. I'm sure we all remember where we were that day in the middle of March of 2020, and someone may have called you up and said something like, or it felt like they were saying, excuse me, your office building burned down overnight. Get ready to work from home. And yeah, some of us were no better prepared than this poor woman in this picture here, but we've come a long way since then. And I'll tell you what, when it comes to remote work, the rabbit is out of the hat. We know we can do it, and frankly, a lot of people like it. And so now a remote work option clearly has become a competitive distinction in the war for talent. And for jobs that can be done remotely, if you're not prepared to offer that, your competitors for talent are. A few more other ideas that we want to look at in terms of creating that kind of environment where people are going to be attracted. It's not going to be so much about free food in nap rooms today as it is things like this, paying attention to employee development, to work-life balance, and this is the biggest of them all, childcare options. It's complex, it's expensive, but helping employees with this need may be the most powerful and effective way to compete for talent today. The last idea I'm going to leave you with has to do, again, with recruiting. We all know about getting referrals from our current employees and maybe even paying for those referrals. But what about this? Get referrals from new hires in their first week when they're really excited. That may be a source you haven't thought about. The premise of my work for the last 20 years has been this, that creating a focused, engaged, and capably led workforce is one of the best things any organization can do for its bottom line. That has never been more true than it is today.